Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. I'm Enfuego here, and I welcome you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment, once more, and it's another animated Monday. Yes, sorry for the nails on the chalkboard with that, but this is actually a sequel review to one that I did a month or two ago, something like that. I mean, all of the days have mushed together in the midst of all this quarantining and, you know, staying at home and craziness. What a weird 2020 it's been. But I earlier did a retro review of Heavy Metal. Yes, the 80s animated adult feature, very R-rated, cool anthology, terrific soundtrack. I mean, Sabbath with Dio, Blue Oyster Cult, I mean, so much rad status stuff. So, it's no surprise, especially with the continued success of the adult comic book magazine, that they would eventually try to get together a sequel to this. And 20 years ago, in July of the year 2000, which correlates with at least the American title, because everywhere else this was titled Heavy Metal FAKK squared, something like that. It deals with the distinction of the planet Eden, where our babes in this story come from. But lo and behold, they did another Heavy Metal movie. And it's nowhere near as good. It's universally panned by critics. It's not really that bad, but it's definitely not very good. So once again, we have a heavy metal soundtrack, but being the year 2000, it's much more akin to what was popular at the time, which, as far as mainstream stuff goes, was a lot of new metal. So you've got, I mean, you do have some cool stuff like when KMFDM were spelling their name backwards, it's like M-A kid, whatever, I'm not going to try to do that, but you've got some Monster Magnet on here, you've got Insane Clown Posse, that definitely says a lot, you know, even though, hey, I find them funny, Bizarre, Amazing Jekyll. If you don't take them seriously, there's an amusing novelty. And you do have some good stuff on here. You've got Queens of the Stone Age, you have Days of the New, I can't remember if this was before they'd switched singers yet or not. You've got System of a Down, Storage, I think is, I want to say that was from Steal This Album, was when it was collected at least, but and then you've got a dope song. As I rewatched this, and I hadn't watched this in a long ass time, I forgot that there is this badass, like, pseudo-industrial kind of track from Billy Idol. It's called Buried Alive, and it's in the end credits, and Billy Idol also voices one of the characters, Odin, I think, in this. But long story short, yeah, you've still got some pretty rockin' tunes, but nothing as iconic and timeless. This and the music here feels very dated, I guess, 20 years later, especially for someone like me who's in my 30s and I lived through this era of popular music as far as heavier hard rock stuff goes. You do have Pantera on here, you know, rest peacefully, Dimebag, but really I think one of the biggest problems here, well actually two specifically that are disappointing, is first and foremost, despite a terrific turn by Michael Ironside and also some decent stuff from Billy Idol as well, Ironside rules. He is awesome, whether Starship Troopers or whether Total Recall. See what the pilot! I mean, yeah, Michael Ironside, Turbo Kid, I mean, dude is awesome. And his voice work as the villain Tyler in this guy who basically discovers a stone that will unlock a gate to like a fountain of eternal life and stuff. But aside from him and Billy Idol, the lead character, which is Julia Strain Eastman, who is a former Penthouse pet and also the former wife of Kevin Eastman, creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She was married to him for 13 years, so I guess that Ninja Turtle money got him a Penthouse pet. But even besides that, he co-wrote the comic from the Heavy Metal magazine that this story is actually based on. And that's the biggest issue for me, is this is not an anthology. Now granted, the original Heavy Metal anthology movie, it connected all the stories, like they bled into one another and there was like a central like framing theme and stuff. This one is just one long story, it's just one story being told in this movie. And that really took some of it out for me. I mean, so the dated music, and while I still have an affinity for certain stuff from that era, so dated music, the fact that they alter the format, and it's not really that compelling of a story. I mean, Ironside's character finds this fountain of youth, you know, unlocking stone. He proceeds to, apparently if you find it though, as legend has it, the stone makes you go insane, and so he becomes this maniacal guy. He was trying to get across the, you know, the galaxy of sorts to get to this area where he can unlock that, and he lands on this planet Eden that has Julia Strain's character, and her voice work is terrible. Kevin Eastman's then wife, the Penthouse pet, Her voice work is terrible. You know, this being heavy metal, her character is going to be naked. I mean, right away when she's introduced, she's like in the shower, naked, and, you know, getting cleaned up. Or maybe it was her sister, because there's this ragtag team of sisters, and they both get naked and whatever. Anyway, it's heavy metal, so you know what to expect. And there's also weird sex jokes halfway through, like these frogs with multiple eyes are like banging each other, and the one frog who's taking it, you know, the female frog, I assume, looks very bored, and she's like just looking at her fingers and stuff like that. And there's also a really lame scene in like kind of a pseudo strip club bar kind of place, and that's the thing. Julia Strain, our lead character, she basically becomes the equivalent of the iconic warrior woman in the final installment in the original anthology. Remember, who, you know, swims through the water and goes and takes the sword and puts on the armor and goes avenging those people and stuff. That's what Julia Strain's character basically becomes in this. So her sister gets kidnapped by Ironside's character as he's trying to make his way across the galaxy to find this fountain of youth, and yeah, she is on the pursuit with a defector from Ironside's crew, and it's kind of boring. It's very much a by the numbers story. Really, really is. And while there are a few cool beats, like, you know, they're on this lava planet at one particular time, and characters, I mean, you still get your quotient of violence. I mean, the fact that it is heavy metal, they are always embraced the adult themes of the sex and the violence, you know? There's no sex in your violence. I don't know. But, yeah, so there's some cool kills, especially there's a fight that Ironside's character has with this, like, this lizard guy, and the pool of lava surrounds them, and so that's a pretty dope spot. And there's also a big battle scene, like in the third act of the film. So there's cool elements in this, but it's the fact that it's this story that I feel like I've heard countless times before, the altering of the anthology format, and then lastly, being the year 2000, for whatever reason, and they only do it a few times. It really kind of bookends more so than anything else. It's in the first like 10 minutes or so, and in the last 10 minutes or so of the film. For whatever reason, they incorporate 3D animation, and it's crappy 3D animation. I mean, we're talking kind of on the par of like Lawnmower Man, even if Lawnmower Man was like, what, 5 or 6 years before this even came out, so it doesn't look good. It doesn't blend well. They should have just stuck to keeping it that classic gritty looking 2D the entirety of the time, and I mean, that's the thing. This could have been significantly better, and the music is really not that much of a problem either, as I think about it more over the course of this review. It was really trying to deviate from a tried and true formula where they made the biggest mistake in this. And so, yeah, it turned 20 this July, as I think July 10th was when it came out, so a few weeks ago from when I'm actually filming this review. But nonetheless, I was not impressed. I don't know if it quite deserves that less than 10% or whatever it is, 10-15%, whatever, on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's definitely not good, and it's not a worthy successor to such an iconic place for adult storytelling as far as genre goes, which, you know, is primarily a melding of horror, science fiction, and medieval fantasy. So I'm gonna give this 2 out of 5 Fuego Fireballs. Yep, everybody, this is unfortunately a Malo film. This film is bad. So, I've been Jaime En Fuego. Y'all can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube. As far as more crazy sci-fi sort of stuff goes, I just put up reviews of both the original Aldous Huxley book, Brave New World, and the new 2020 adaptation that's on Peacock TV. That was an exciting, fun thing to do. And I also touch upon the 98 version, which is dog shit, and the 1980 version as well, which is a very faithful adaptation, but still not very good. And yeah, here on Enfuegotainment, that's basically the sort of stuff that I have fun geeking out about, and a like, a share, a subscribe here would mean a hell of a lot and be greatly appreciated. If you like full-on spooktacular scarific all the goddamn time, go over to youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. That is where we put up at least an episode every single day. Trailer reactions, unboxings, reviews of anything horror, from comics to films to television. I have a weekly Stephen King show on Saturdays that I do, so a little bit of love over there is also greatly appreciated. So, I've been Fuego, y'all have been badass rad status, and until the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, cinemigos, constant readers and viewers in this case alike, say thank you for spending some time with me here today, and I'm hopeful that we share more of this fun palaver sooner rather than later, and until then, stay home and watch more animation. Just stick with the original heavy metal.